So hey, we're just trying to combine a few different things today for today's podcast to be able to just bring a little bit of value from the essence of the media industry straight to you. So how is it that you're able to buy $1 for less than $1? Whoa, welcome to the news. Stay to the end to find out. Oh yeah, so today we're trying to focus on how assets and the essence of technology is coming full circle to be able to bring a little bit of opportunity to the forefront, so that in essence, in today's podcast, we're just going to try to revolve how to be able to try to buy $1 for like 80 cents, for example, 87 cents to buy $1, for example. That's sort of the focus in terms of the mindset of how we're trying to get into today's podcast, because in terms of diversification, in terms of asset mindsets, in terms of asset methodology, it must become something that it starts with to be able to move into any direction that is an asset mindset, meaning to take an action that follows up in the direction of an asset to begin with. You must be thinking about assets. That's sort of the common sense, I guess, element to be just to try to kick things off, if you will, but to fundamentally go from there, where in essence talking about not only digital products, but in essence the actual act of investing, because sometimes you actually can, for example, buy loans. You can buy loans that are like not working out for other people and other companies. For example, you can buy about $1 million in loans for like close to $100,000, for example. That's being able to buy money for less than the cost of money, for an example of the finance example. And there's other assets, there's other examples of assets, of private equity assets and deals, for example, in real estate, for example, where you're actually buying equity that is cheaper than the actual retail value of that equity. And by that, I even mean the wholesale value of that equity, so that in essence, you can buy private equity at a cheaper rate than in essence the retail value, and in essence, even the wholesale value still a cheaper rate. There's an incentivization built in when you're focused on assets. When you're looking in the direction of assets, you can buy sometimes the value of $1 for less than $1, for example. And so that's the interest of this example in terms of starting with the asset mindset, in terms of starting with the investing mindset, for example, just to be able to look in this direction, because sometimes those arbitrage setups are available in terms of pre-sales of different assets, for example. So that is just a hope in terms of looking at like the 52-week lows and such things in terms of assets that are out there, to be able to try to buy things at a discount, buying things sometimes if possible, and looking for having this mindset to look in this direction. Oh yeah. But then again, also trying to transition into the creator economy, talking about the creator economy and just trying to leverage the different circulation of tools that are happening for right now, because in essence, it has been said that social media is meant to go away eventually, somehow. So more or less, it's a matter of trying to acknowledge what is possible to just be able to just participate with at the current time, which corresponds to coding that corresponds to artificial intelligence being able to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you these days, so that in essence you've got the ability to be able to try to transition, and then therefore you've got the ability to try to also leverage different tools such as WHOP. WHOP is WHOP is how do you to be able to leverage digital products from your personal brand, developing a personal brand from scratch, for example, which you can also do leveraging artificial intelligence, starting a personal brand from scratch, from artificial intelligence. This is like similar to investing, but starting with zero, the methodology of starting with zero, so then you are in essence able to step up with zero to be able to begin with and be able to leverage zero and try to get arbitrage from zero, because in essence you're leveraging artificial intelligence, doing the heavy lifting and the work, taking your time out of the equation more or less, and also you can develop an artificial intelligence agency. And then it's also been confirmed by Y Combinator that apps can completely run themselves. So you can develop apps and you can run the essence of apps, and they are completely able to be self-sustaining, supposedly. That's what Y Combinator has reported today. And so also at the same time, you've got these digital applications that you can run off of WHOP, for example, where you have communities that can revolve around them, and you can interact and engage with communities that are interfaced in the interaction and the intersection of community and technology at the same time. So for example, like ourselves, like me, like for example, like Dinky Tech, we're trying to start selling accountability coaching for people to be able to just accomplish their goals. So where I hop on calls every single week with different people. Like we're trying to max it out at like 100 people for the whole entire group. So we've just got $50 a month for the whole entire group for 100 different people, $50 a month. Oh, and so we're just getting closer to being able to open the doors on that group, and so that's something to be able to report. But nonetheless, we're just trying to be able to leverage the essence of being able to connect like digital products and digital apps and digital applications that are also able to be run with a digital agency that is also on WAP at the current time in terms of a digital agency that can run itself and also being able to actually sell those agencies out. Being able to leverage selling those agencies out, that's out there. And so we want to be able to try to bring all of these to a center place, because if you don't have a personal brand, you can leverage that and be able to open one up by leveraging artificial intelligence as well to be able to kick off the idea, open up the idea, have the agents take the place of being able to take care of the essence of the heavy lifting of the idea, of the methodology, of the mindset, of the focus, of the audience, of the connectivities, where you're able to need to be able to plug in different plugins to be able to grow your audience, grow your tools, grow your optimizations, and fundamentally it's all just sort of built in. So now is the time to be able to try to jump on some different opportunities, because in essence, this so-called arbitrage where you can buy assets at a discount is in essence something that can only last as long as social media lasts as well in the meantime. So in essence, there is an alignment where we're trying to connect with the communities that still exist while humanity and social media is still abreast, and at the same time we're trying to leverage the most fundamental functional tools in these podcasts. We want everyone to be able to develop their own little group, be able to develop your own group, because it's kind of worth it if you've got the ability to be able to leverage these, so to speak, communities, because in essence you can make apps, you can make applications for the Apple App Store, and there are a few examples where people get them to be seen and noticed and put into the tracking of larger groups that are out there, and being able to optimize connecting with the larger demand of larger media to be able to have. For example, I saw earlier someone had over 600. Oh yeah, a lot leveraged in terms of sales within an Apple App Store application from a couple apps developed that attempt to optimize people's skills. And then, therefore, you're just trying to get into the right place at the right time, because the creator economy still has a lot of money behind it, because it's a distribution methodology. So if you can combine that manufacturing with that marketing, with that distribution methodology of the creator economy, there's still a lot of money in the background, like venture capitalists that are looking to deploy capital, because they're trying to align with the right creators, because creators have to be out there to be able to align with that capital. And there's a lawyer named Tyler Chu that is able to verify that they are looking for deploying capital opportunities, so to speak. So it's necessary to be able to have an audience, which is necessary to be able to pick up the pen and pencil, which is an example of an analogy of a symbol of just the computer and the keyboard, to be able to ask artificial intelligence what they can develop, what they can generate, to be able to start off and kick off and push off your personal brand, kick off the personal brand of your attention, to be able to get out there a little bit more into the media, to then therefore be able to have the opportunity to develop and then connect digital applications, digital products, digital applications and digital products and digital interfaces, to then therefore be able to connect any sort of manufacturing, so you can then pawn it off to these venture capitalists. You can pawn it off to these venture capitalists that are out there waiting in the midst. They're waiting on the sidelines. They're waiting for the opportunity to be able to deploy more capital into the distribution pipelines, which you're able to be able to create with fundamentally artificial intelligence tools, more or less. So this is a circular, insular little community of peculiar business processes from the past, starting to turn inwards and insular, based on having these full circle methodology, conceptual connections of all these different tools that are connecting and connective from one side, from demand to supply to control, or try to control, or try to develop, or try to manifest, or try to marinate on your own supply chain, yeah. Oh yeah. So please push around the energies of artificial intelligence to be able to work in your favor and start to kick the ball around, so that in essence you can buy assets at a discount. And it's also sometimes called arbitrage in terms of these deal structures. If you've got things that you can trade straight away for a higher value at a discount. Oh, that's all for now. Thanks again. Tiki Tac, Chase for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye. Yeah. And let's also all remember to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear the animal shelters. Let's also remember to clear the animal shelters and try to hire all of these shelter animals as healers throughout our community, so that we can clear the animal shelters by hiring all the shelter animals as healers among and throughout our communities. And foster all the shelter animals to hire the shelter animals and clear the animal shelters, and adopt all the shelter animals and clear all the shelter animals by hiring the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities and hire all the animals in the world as healers among our communities. Foster all the shelter animals, clear the animal shelters. That's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Duck Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye.